Thanks, everyone. Please have a seat. And if you could switch off your phones now, please. So, tonight at supper, Presley Langevin comes up to me and told me he'd lost his team pins. He lost his soccer pin and his hockey pin. And he wanted to know if he could get new ones. In fact, this past year I had about 20 students come to me because they lost their team pin, offer their blazer, hoping they can get a replacement. And I accommodated. I always order more because every year you guys lose them. You know who you are. But I don't tell you this like some frustrated, crotchety old grandpa complaining about the disorganized youth of today. I tell you this because I loved it every time you came into my office asking for a new team pin. Because that meant you cared about your team pin, and I love that you cared about it. So a team pin, and this is mine from a basketball season, costs $3.90. But a lot more than that goes into it. Your effort goes into it. Your blood, your sweat, your tears. You earned it. The team pin represents all the relationships you made with your teammates. Some good, some not so good. Some friends for life. It's also a symbol of all the stuff you learned over the season about your sports and about yourself. It's small, but all your memories fit in there also. The games, the practices, the road trips, the laughs, and maybe even some heartache. This pin is a reminder that you worked your tail off for a full season and proof that you were part of something bigger than yourself. And it's not just you that made this team pin possible. It took more than that. It took Mrs. Perreault, Miss Perron, and Miss Boudreau taking care of you. It took the kitchen staff feeding you at weird times, the laundry making sure you always look sharp, and maintenance getting your fields ready in the rainiest spring ever. Your team pin doesn't happen without our school drivers chauffeuring us wherever we need to go, without Mrs. Wolf helping me in athletics behind the scenes, and of course, it goes without saying, your team pin doesn't happen without Miss Alta Sheldon running the show at the gym for her 43rd year. And finally, there is no team pin without your coaches, whose dedication and commitment to your team and to you is second to none. All of these people and you have made this team pin possible, so please give them and yourselves a healthy round of applause. Now, before I introduce our first speaker of the evening, let's get to what you've all really been waiting for, the winner of the year-long All-Campus League. So, thank you, Mrs. Wolf. There we go. If you recall, the standings were tight. After All-Campus Week back in April, the North held a narrow one-point lead over South, the two-time defending champs. And West and East weren't out of it either, only a dozen or so points behind. Last Friday's All-Campus Day was everybody's chance to take the title and have their name engraved on one of the oldest trophies in the school, the Scowen Trophy. But only one team can win. And even though East performed better than anyone on All-Campus Day, they couldn't quite catch up all the way. So this year's All-Campus champions, winning by only 8 points, the closest race in years, a true Cinderella story from worst last year to first this year, North. So, will the captains of North, all 4 captains, please come forward to take your photo with the Scowen Trophy. Okay, before introducing the first speaker of the night, one last thing. There's been a small addition to the Sportsmanship Award. So from now on, if you win a Sportsmanship Award, your name will not only be added to the perennial sportsmanship trophy that stays at the school, but you will also receive a certificate that you can keep. Okay, on to our first speaker of the night, the Commissioner of Softball, Ms. Kirby.
You may be good at English, you may be good at math, but when it comes to softball, you better watch your back. Softball has always been a sport that I enjoy playing, coaching, and watching others play. Intramural softball is an excellent opportunity for students to be active, have fun, and learn the game. It's also a time to bond with your teammates, of which they did plenty this year. The cold and rain kept them indoors, and they completed team competitions and team cheers. This year, we had 43 players over 4 teams: the Expos, Royals, Blue Jays, and Cardinals. We had students who had never played before, returning students from last year, and others who play softball outside of school. What I enjoy the most about coaching is watching the more experienced players coach the less experienced players. I'll always remember the little things: the exhilaration of someone scoring a home run, the frustration when someone struck out yet again, and the arguing with the calls. I will also remember the funny things, most notably Alex Shee, who swings his bat as if it was a hammer. Trevor, who surprised himself when he caught Sam Willett's pop fly. Paolo, and his reaction when he realized that his bunt was actually an out. And the most memorable of them all, and will receive our own little majoress, goes to Roy Liu. Thank you to Oscar for folding our own little majoress, who goes to Roy for going from last year not hitting the ball at all, actually receiving an hour for not hitting the ball, to consistently being a good hitter. So well done, Roy, this year. This year, I would say among all the years I've been coaching this program, we had some really, really strong hitters. Throughout the season, we had 10 different players who scored home runs. Nick Bacora had the most home runs this year with a total of 10. Andrew Bim and Dominic Bacora were runners-up with 5 home runs each. And Tommy Scarfone, Brendan McCarthy, and Sam Willits, the triplets we call them, put up a total of 10 home runs for their team. I'd also like to thank Ms. Robitaille and Ms. Bidisri for helping me out this season, as well as Ms. Alta for taking care of our equipment and what we call the box. I would also like to thank our captains, Oscar, Nicholas, Henry, Dominic, Brendan, Thomas, Anthony, and Vincent. Without things really can't run that smoothly. And it really depends on them to motivate their corresponding teams. Now for the standings and awards for this season, and I would ask all of the award winners to come up together at the end. We started with our regular season where we only played 10 games, which was a lot less than what we played last year, which we played 15. In 4th place, we have the Royals with 1 win and 9 losses. In 3rd place, we have the Cardinals with 4 wins and 6 losses. In 2nd place, we have the Expos with 6 wins and 4 losses. And in 1st place for the regular season was the Blue Jays with 9 wins and 1 loss. As their team cheer went, hey, hey, let's go play. Let's go Blue Jays, time to slay. The Blue Jays were the front runner all season long. However, the standings changed after the playoffs. The Expos won their game against the Cardinals to make it to the finals to play the Blue Jays, and in the finals, the Expos beat the Blue Jays 3-1 to take first place. As their team cheer went, "We're the Expos and we will blow you out," and that's what they exactly did. So I'd like to congratulate the captains, Brendan and Thomas, and really the rest of the team. This year we have 2 awards to give out. The first award is for Most Valuable Male Player, and the second award is for sportsmanship. The recipient of the MVP award had a positive attitude throughout the season. Even when his team lost the first place finish in the playoffs, he held his head high, and he really has an incredible softball IQ, and he's a very, very strong pitcher, in my opinion, for his age. So I'd like to congratulate Nicholas Pecora on receiving the MVP. The second award is for sportsmanship, and the recipients of this award were a dynamic duo throughout the entire season. As their team cheer went, "We are the best, trying our best, not much success." Despite their record, they both brought the magic to the fields, always smiling, always encouraging their team. They have a heart of gold, and they have a true understanding of intramural sport. I'd like to congratulate Henry Haas and Dominic Pecora. You may come get your awards and trophy.
Okay, so all campus and softball are intramural sports, meaning that's when we compete against each other. For the rest of this ceremony, we'll be celebrating interscholastic sports where we compete against other schools. But we're going to proceed a little bit differently than how we've done it in the past. We're going to try something a little new. So to keep things running as efficiently as possible, from this point on, when you come up to get an award, there will be no photo. Okay? Instead, you will receive your award, shake hands with your coaches, or hug, whatever you do, and then you're going to sit back down. No photo at that time, but that doesn't mean no photo at all. At the end of the assembly, when everyone else leaves to go back to campus, all award winners will stay behind here at the church with their coaches. All photos will be taken at the end, after the assembly is over. So it's something new. We're going to give it a try. So to kick it off, speaking for junior boys rugby, Dr. Standage.
Good evening. My thanks, of course, to Alta and all the people Mr. Van Dyke mentioned, too numerous to mention. My thanks also to Mr. Van Dyke himself for actually keeping the trains running in some pretty challenging climate now. And thanks to Terence for being an assistant, and Matt, of course, for stepping in when I was away at NESC. As you notice now, Canada has pretty much 2 seasons. We have snow season, and we have cold, wet season. The rugby season is normally pretty short, but this year it seemed ridiculously so. We spent the first week in gymnasia, various parts of Stanstead, practicing there. We spent the second week ankle deep in mud and rain, trying to practice there. We were then supposed to have our home tournament, but of course that got postponed. And we spent another week in the cold, wet mud practicing. It wasn't until May 7th that we finally got on a bus and headed out to Marseille-Vanier for our first competitive game. 1 week and 1 day later, we were on a bus again heading to Richmond for our last game of the season, except the playoffs. So the whole thing was compressed. 3 jamborees and 1 trip to Montreal was all compressed into 8 days. That's pretty heavy. In recent years, the league that we play in has not really provided much of a challenge. It's been pretty unbalanced in our favor. Not so this year. In true Spartan style, we were outnumbered by all our teams, all our opponents, and outmatched for size and experience. However, this did give our players a chance to show what they're made of in the face of adversity. Didn't start well. On that trip to Marseille-Vanier, we managed to get 1 loss and 1 draw, but on the bus back, we had 4 players down out of 15. And with such a compressed season, that doesn't give you a lot of time to recover. Despite a bit of a resurgence at the end on the Richmond thing, we got a couple of wins there. At last this year, we did not win the league banner. But it did give us 2 weeks to rest and reflect. And during that reflection, including the May break, we realized a couple of things. We realized that our rugby skills weren't really that bad. We were no worse than the opposition. We realized that we just had to make fewer mistakes, work harder, of course, and use the weapons we had, because we had some good, pretty strong players. When you go to the playoffs in last position in your league, although it was very close, you're not the favorite to win. And when you go down a try in the first minute of the semi-finals, that doesn't help your cause. But what happened next couldn't make me more prouder. The team didn't capitulate at all. They didn't quit, they didn't bend, and ended up winning that semi-final with the last play of the game with a penalty try. And again, we did the same thing in the final. Not expected to win, a team that thought they were going to win easily, and it ended up 1 goal line stand after another as we kept them out. And in the end, we managed to win and take home the trophy for the 3rd year in a row. So congratulations, team, well done. Now, we did a bit of losing this year, and we did a bit of winning, and winning does feel good. Now, if anybody saw Mr. Van Dijk's TED Talk a couple of weeks ago, they'll know the reason you feel good is because apparently your brain squirts some fluid into it that makes you feel happy when you win, and you want to do it again. And with this ringing in my head, I remember thinking during that final against Galt that actually I didn't care whether they won or not. They were playing the best rugby of the season, best rugby I've seen them play for a long time under the most tricky conditions, and the result was in the lap of the gods. It could have gone either way. But what really makes me happy, and squirts all that nice fluid into my brain, is the fact that that tournament, that trophy there, Stanstead College, is still the only name on it. So well done, guys. Congratulations. Okay, so before I do the awards, I just want to make one honorable mention. It's always good to see the smallest guy on the field play the game with as fearlessly and with much confidence as the biggest guy on the field. And that was the case with Chaz Grenier. Watching this guy take on guys twice his size without so much as a second thought, he'd be standing there, guy literally twice the size running at him, think bug hitting train, and instead of what most of us would do would be find some excuse to get out of the way, wave our arms around, fake a tackle or something like that, he would latch on, grip on, even be carried down the field, just slowing the guy down enough for other people to catch up and bring him down. As I said, the smallest guy on the field, when he puts on a few pounds, maybe next year, grows a bit, gets some more experience, he's going to be quite a weapon for Stanstead College in a few years' time. So congratulations, Chaz, well done. I have 4 awards to do, so if you all come up at the end together. The Sportsmanship Award. Now for this one, we chose a guy who's a veteran, who played last year. And last year, he really wasn't much of a factor on the team. He wasn't that fast, he dropped the ball a lot. And to be honest, we always were worried about how well he could see because we wouldn't let him wear his glasses during the game. This year is not the case. He's grown a few pounds, he's put on a bit of weight, he's stronger, he's got new goggles, which means he can see, and he's got a bucket more of enthusiasm and joy of the game. So for all of that, the Sportsmanship Gold goes to TK. Well done. So 3 junior wrestlers. The first one is a forward, he's a prop. Without this guy, we wouldn't have won many of our scrums. Without this guy lifting, we wouldn't have won many lineouts. And without this guy fearlessly punching his way to the line in the final play of the Massey-Vanier game in the semis, taking an elbow in the eye to do so, we wouldn't have won that game either. So, for all his effort, his knowledge of the game, and his leadership, the first Junior S goes to Diego Badilla. Second Junior S goes to the fastest guy on the field. Yeah, everybody knows who he is. Give this guy the ball and a bit of space in front of him, and he's gone. We are scoring. In 7s, he's lethal, but even in 10s, where there's a little less room, he gets a bit of space, and we're making progress down the field. He started off a bit of a sideshow on the game, but by the end, he was our most prolific try scorer, so Junior S for Rihito Hamano. Now, I said we had a tie in our first game up at Massey-Vanier against Galt. The reason we had that tie was because of a great last-ditch tackle when one of their guys ran through and everybody thought he was going to score. But this guy came out of nowhere and dragged him down, and they eventually did not score. Those who saw the game at Richmond will remember his kick-and-run try, which enabled us to win that game again against Galt. He stepped up as a captain of the team, and stepped up as our scrum half, so a Junior S goes to Matt Little-Granger. Now you're gonna... Thank you.
Junior girls rugby, Mr. Grenier.
So first, thanks to Mr. Van Dyke, to Miss Alta, and to Emma. 3 very different jobs, 3 very different roles, but without the 3 of you, I am a way worse coach. So thanks for making me better. So what's it like to coach the junior girls? I'll try to give you some idea. Sometimes it's like this. At the end of a practice where the team is, huddled together, and Gloria Riddle puts up her hand and says, so hang on, Dad, what if the other team decides to, oh my God, I just called you Dad? Yeah, that happened. And sometimes it's, middle of the practice, kind of random, and Fernanda says, sir, are there any sports that are played in high heels? So while my brain is trying to wrap itself around those words, the rest of the team is coming up with creative and totally inappropriate answers to that question. And I have to stop them, and I'm like, oh, that's enough, we're done here, right? Like, where do you guys get this stuff? You're 12 years old, just be kids, like Spurk would say, just be kids. And sometimes it's being at the GMA A7s, and we've got 2 hours to kill between games. And I'm sitting in the organizer's tent. I'm talking to the organizer and a couple of refs, and the weather is, of course, terrible. And I'm telling them how proud I am of my team and how keen they are and how they really want to learn the game. And as I'm saying this, my team comes out of the Concordia Arena onto the turf field, and I'm like, all right, check this out. These guys are great. We got 2 hours before our game. They're going to practice or something? What are they going to do? Of course not. Out come 12 cell phones, and they're like flipping their hair, and they're posing on the turf at Concordia and taking selfies and posting this stuff to Snapface or whatever it is you guys do. And the organizer, Hugh Hanna, says to me, so that's your team, eh? And I'm like, no, I've never seen those guys in my life. The big red jerseys, the Stanstead team for sure, right? The girly girl team. My best friend in the world, Mr. James Shebb. We've been friends for 38 years. We met in grade 7 in boarding school. And he worked at Stanstead College a while ago for a few years, and he coached the senior boys, and I was coaching the senior girls, and this is back in 2003, which is like a lifetime ago for most of you in the room. And he used to stand up here and talk about how rugby is a game of courage. And those words ring true with me today, especially with this team, for 3 reasons. First, you're playing a high-contact sport, which girls don't do a lot of. 2, you're young. We have 4 grade 7s on the team, and I remember what it was like to play rugby in grade 7, to step up and go, wow, am I really gonna do this? Guys are bigger than me, like Chaz, right? And it takes guts. It takes a lot of guts to do that, to make that decision, to click that dial. And 3, the weather was insane. You were playing in wet and cold all season long. You're playing a contact sport. You're hitting other people and getting hit, and you're like shivering and cold. It's like you guys are Vikings or something out there, right? Except without the beards. Because Beatrice would look weird with a beard. Yeah, it's a game of courage for sure, and you guys are by far the most courageous and bravest junior girls team that I've coached, and I'm really proud of you for that. And the point I really want to make tonight, actually, is something that you may have missed, although I think you know it kind of subconsciously, but I want to make sure the rest of the school knows this, actually, is at the beginning of the year we had 18 girls try out for the team, and we could have made one team of 7 of the best girls, which is what most teams do. And then we'd have 11 subs. So Emma and I got together with Mr. Van Dyke and we talked about this and said, okay, let's do it. Let's enter 2 teams in the league and split the team evenly. Take the best players and put them on both teams. And then make 2 even teams with 2 subs per team, so 2 teams of 9, and let's roll, right? Let's see how we do and work hard, and it gives you guys a much better chance of playing a lot of rugby all season long. Of course, I don't know if you realized this, but we also knew this at the beginning of the year, that we were probably foregoing our chance of winning. We consciously made a decision to not win the league and not win the championship so that you guys would have an amazing season. We knew this. I think you kind of knew it too, because you played really hard all season long. In other words, it does sound like a TEDx speech. Winning didn't matter as much as the experience you had this season. And for me, the highlight was, out of a league of 5 teams, we finished 2nd and 3rd. So splitting our talent, splitting into 2 teams, we still beat BCS's team, only team, and we still beat Massey Vanier's only team, which were presumably their best players. And we ended up playing each other and ended up tying in regulation time in the semifinal and had to go to overtime. That's how much you guys wanted to win and played your hearts out. And I'm really proud of you, and thank you for an awesome season. Now for the awards. We're giving 4 awards. The first is the Sportsmanship Award, and then 3 Junior S's. The Sportsmanship Award goes to a girl who all season long was super positive and just smiling, and she's kind of like the team mom, and she did it with Nandi style. So Fernanda, you win the Sportsmanship Award. And the 3 junior S's go to 3 girls who kind of, elevated our game throughout the season. Every rugby team needs girls who can run, girls who can pass, girls who can tackle. But you also need girls who aren't afraid of crashing the ball into contact. And what that does is it collapses the other team's man-to-man defense. So you break one tackle, then they need another tackler, and then they need another tackler, so they've committed 3 people to this tackle. Obviously, their defense is going to be not aligned anymore, and it opens up passing lanes, opens up running lanes, and opens up space on the field for our gunners like Gloria and Rose Ma to turn on the jets and burn around the outside and score, which we did a lot of this season, thanks to you 3 girls. And those 3 are Tere, Alexia, and Ella. Come on up.
The next program is the first program of the evening that can give out major S awards. So if an athlete wins a major S, that athlete is honored with a standing ovation from everybody here. Next up, speaking for the badminton team, Mr. Liu.
All right, first, I'd like to say the gym was nice and dry, wasn't wet and cold. Sorry, everyone else outside. All right, so my goal today is to have a speech under 1 minute, so someone time me. I already said what I wanted to say most of all in the dining hall. All right, first I would like to thank Ms. Alta and Ava for helping to keep us organized throughout the season. And I would like to say a huge thank you to Ms. Peruz for basically running everything. Heck, I didn't even know what time practice was, where it was, what was going on. I had no clue. I just kind of showed up and everything was done for me. It was fantastic, right? The badminton season is incredibly short. We had about 2 weeks to put together a team and then played in 2 tournaments. And then the rest of the time we were just basically just getting ready for next year. So I was really worried about this, but you guys came to every practice almost on time and with a great attitude. I thought it was great seeing everyone having so much fun playing badminton. We even had players skipping hours to show up for badminton. I don't recommend it, but I was impressed. Right? It was a great year and one of my best seasons coaching badminton. We had so much fun. Thank you. What's my time? Everybody? Yeah? All right. Okay. All right. Now for awards, I have 2 Junior S awards. The first one, these 2 both goes to a team who in 1 week changed their entire badminton game from singles to doubles and came away with 3rd place in the Etiak tournament. Leo Lee and Michael Wu. Okay, so I have 4 awards next for seniors. I'll talk about the 2 Senior S awards. The first one goes, and just wait till all 4 before coming up. The first one goes to first an incredibly strong singles player who's always willing to help out, teach, and challenge our younger players, Eric Wang. The second award goes to a player who came from a tennis background but quickly adapted to badminton and proved to be one of our strongest players, Samantha Smith. Finally, our sportsmanship award goes to 2 players who had the most positive attitude and made the game fun. Ms. Peruz will not sing the song or speak Japanese for you tonight. All right, the winner is Banam Nguyen and Karen Kosugi. And finally, our Major S award goes to a player who dominated the court with a warped, heavy, low-quality school racket, while his opponents played with rackets costing hundreds of dollars. He was always willing to help out with practice and became the de facto leader of the team. He also helped everyone to improve their badminton skills. The winner is Lucas Etienne.
Just before we have our, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. And I'm going to do this because he's not going to be here for baccalaureate. He's leaving next week to go to Vietnam to set up for the summer service learning program. And of course, I'm talking about our friend and colleague, Mr. McDonald. I met Mr. McDonald 8 years ago. We were on a New England Association of Schools and Colleges committee together. And despite the distance, me here, he working as the assistant head at Winchendon Academy in Massachusetts, and then as the head at the Olympia Schools all the way over in Hanoi, Vietnam, we stayed in touch. I had a chance to visit him in Hanoi a couple of times and see the incredible transformation of that school under his leadership into one of the top schools in the country. 3 years ago, he and his wife Vaughn and his son Kian came to Stanstead, and I think everyone here knows Mr. McDonald as a very passionate and dedicated teacher. Teaching is, in his own words, his sweet spot. He cares about you, and he cares enough to let you learn by doing, and he cares enough to push you out of your comfort zone. He is an innovator. He is a bold visionary. He's a change agent. He's a guy with big ideas, and he puts big ideas into action. A few examples: when he was the director of academics, in a short period of time, he came up with the exceptional effort rating, established Google Classroom, strong advocate of AP, and got us to reconsider, and is still asking us to reconsider our exam format and policies. And I think everyone, of course, knows all of the outstanding, groundbreaking, incredible work that he's done on the service learning projects in Vietnam, starting with the March break trip, expanding it into summer camps, and now we're even looking at next year into expanding that summer camp to perhaps a 6 to 8 week program. He is always pushing the limits, always doing it for you. Mr. McDonald is moving to Maine, going back to being the head of school at the Central Maine Institute, and I personally am looking forward to continuing to work with him, and I think he is going to maintain his connection with you and with our school. So please join me in welcoming and, more importantly, thanking Mr. Chris McDonald.
Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Mr. Wolf. And I think what Mr. Wolf says there is true. I hope, as I've talked to my classes and talked to my players, and my family will be always a part of Stanstead. And particular shout out to the hockey program, both boys and girls. You've inspired a 5-year-old to now want to play in the NHL. And thank you all for your kind words. Let's talk about track. Track and field. Track and field is one of the 2 Olympic sports Stanstead does in the spring. Second one is tennis. Anyway, track and field began in 776 BC in Olympia, Greece. And I want to give a shout out to my co-coach, Mr. Doogie Ross, who actually participated in those games. And as Mr. Ross knows, he provided our team with some of the field equipment that he used. A javelin, a discus, and a shot put that actually we got out of the archives. I'm not kidding. And he was so proud to say, hey guys, look, I use this stuff. And we're looking at it and there's corrosion and rust, and the spear is 100 years old. It's considered a Canadian national treasure. So, Mr. Ross, thank you. This is the first time the team actually participated in field events. We did that up in Sherbrooke, and I want to thank the players, the athletes, because we actually placed points without really having the facilities or the equipment to throw a shot or to do discus or to do javelin. So good job for the players that participated in that. Thank you. To give you a sense of the track events, track's really divided into 3 different events, right? You have sprinters, you have middle distance, and you have long distance. And I just want to give you a faculty analogy, so if you're trying to figure out what I mean. Sprinters are 60 meters, 100 meters, and hurdles and 200 meters. It's a certain kind of personality to be a sprinter, kind of like a hockey goalie. The best analogy would be Miss Benizeri before TEDx. That is a sprinter. And all the students that were getting things together in a week, you now know what a sprinter is. That's the sprinter mentality. Middle distance is the 400 to 800 meter range. It's where you don't know if you're supposed to sprint. You don't know if you're supposed to kind of go in distance, right? Xavier realized that pretty quickly, that a 400 meter is not 300 meters. He hit kind of a wall in one of the races there. Ask him about it. But a good example of that, I think, would be Mr. Winquist. For the Lax Bros, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes very calm, and then you have sporadic explosions. And you don't know how that happened. That's a middle distance guy, right? A total middle distance guy. Then you have the distance people, and these are a separate breed as well. They will run in an indoor track 20 times. This is 1.5 kilometers, 3 kilometers. You can go get a hot dog and a Coke, or hot dog and a Coke, not a beer, and come back and you can still watch them running. This is endurance. They just keep going. And the best analogy I have for that is Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams, I think we should give a shout out to, and maybe a standing O. 27 years, 20 years as a coach at Stanstead College, retiring this year. That is a distance guy. My juniors, okay. So let's get to our junior awards. We have 2 juniors, and these girls are absolutely outstanding. I've coached for a long time, and I've not seen athletes that can adapt so quickly, learn something new like the hurdles, which is really technique driven, and get points at meets. And these 2 young ladies, boy, the future is so bright for them in many ways. They win our Junior S, and please come up, Georgia Bailey and Elodie Roy. We have 3 Senior S awards, and these 2 ladies and this one gentleman, if you've seen them run, they pointed at every meet. They are, I could get into details about track, but track's pretty simple. You're faster than the person next to you. These 3 athletes, track is not their primary sport, but they just have natural speed and natural heart and natural courage. And our sportsmanship award, which I'll get to after the three Senior S's. So the 3 Senior S's go to Xavier Jean-Louis, Laurence Frenette, Marianne Picard. And wait, come on up after I announce the last person, which is our, I gave it away, our Sportsmanship Award. And this young lady showed up every day for practice, worked very hard. This is kind of new to her. She even participated in the Sherbrooke meet. She did extremely well, works hard, rain or shine. Our Sportsmanship Award goes to Jessie Hu. So could the four of you please come up?
Speaking for the golf team, Mrs. Smith.
Good evening, everyone. First off, I'm going to offer a quick thanks to Miss Alta for letting us set up an indoor golf course in her gym. Thank you to Mr. Dozois for putting up with our endless changes in plans, according to the weather. And thank you to Mr. Wells for offering to be involved in the golf program this year. I think he missed rugby, and given that they had a really good season, I want to thank him. He was a really good sport about it. And also a big thank you to Mr. Van Dyke for being so supportive of the team this year. We got invited to play in a tournament in London, Ontario. It was the Canadian High School Spring Golf Classic, something totally new and different, and he made it happen for us. So we had the opportunity to go on our first ever golf road trip. It was fun. So golf is deceptively simple and endlessly complicated. It satisfies the soul and frustrates the intellect. It's at the same time rewarding and maddening, and it is, without a doubt, the greatest game mankind has ever invented. This is a quote from the late Arnold Palmer, arguably one of the best golfers of all time. And it's so true. What's so hard about hitting a little ball and putting it in a hole? Absolutely everything. From the obstacles that Mother Nature throws at you, to the competition, to your own self-doubt. So as you all know, we had a terrible spring, and given that we play on courses that have suffered the wrath of a long and arduous winter, we played in snow, rain, mud, puddles, muck. We played in traps with no sand and on greens with no grass. In each tournament we played, new rules and conditions were introduced to accommodate for the elements. So today we're going to play a rule that. Today we're going to play a rule that. So things that aren't normally rules in golf. And while the condition of the course may well be the equalizer for something like golf, because everyone's playing on the same course and everyone's in the same elements, it's no fun to be slogging your way through a wet fairway looking for balls that are plugged. Anyways, we did it. We played in our opening league tournament, mediocre results, but at that time we were really focused on our trip to Ontario. The first day at Fire Rock was an eye-opener. It was brutally hard, and we didn't fare very well at all. But being Spartans, everyone buckled down and made a goal to each play better on the second day. And everyone did, some by as many as 30 strokes. Kenny. In the end, we finished 15th out of 20 teams, and in my opinion, that's very respectable for our first ever big tournament. Back to reality and the remainder of our ETX season, we played 3 tournaments in 5 days. So we weren't as successful as anyone wanted, but that's the game of golf. And as well, the team from Galt was kind of next to unbeatable. The team was made up of a mixed bag of characters. We had the youngsters, Buddy and Presley, one who had boundless energy and one who was about as low-key as they come. You figure out who's who. There were the boys, Hayden, Charles, Simon, Ryan, Michael, Matt, Alexi, Amos, David, and Tyler. And then there were the girls. I had 4 girls this time, first time ever, Cannon, Tammy, Juliet, and Portia. Congratulations to you all. I think you had a great season. We'll call it a growing season, something to learn from. I think each and every golfer learned something about tenacity, about grit, about mental toughness and determination. Each and every golfer also improved over the course of the season, and I applaud your perseverance. I hope you've developed a love for a game that's going to stay with you for years to come. Okay, so prizes and awards in a sport like golf can be humble and simple. Of course, winning something like the Masters or the British Open is an incredible achievement, but sometimes it's a little thing like your first par or making a birdie or chipping it in, and those things are equally rewarding. Tonight I want to recognize 4 athletes for some very simple reasons, and I'd ask that they all come up together. The first award is our sportsmanship trophy, A recent addition to Stanstead College, this young man has been one of the mainstays of the team. He's young and energetic, and he has the makings of an excellent golfer. I look forward to watching him improve over the course of the summer. He's always full of trivia and endless source of fun facts on our road trips. He's very knowledgeable about the game, and he's passionate about it as well. So congratulations to Hayden Pym. I'm giving 2 Senior S awards for similar reasons. These 2 epitomize hard work, focus, determination, participation, and enthusiasm. They never missed a practice or competition. They were welcoming and helpful to their teammates and to their competitors alike. They came to extra practices on rainy days, and they always represented our school with typical Spartan spirit and pride. The 2 recipients of Senior S awards tonight are Portia Eldon and Ryan Johnson. I have one final award to give this evening. We have the Alex Phillip Golf Shield. Mr. Phillip was a lifelong teacher and athletic director and coach at Stanstead. The football field, the junior boys soccer field, is named after him. And he has also provided us with the Phillip Shield. So we keep track of scores all season long. It's an internal competition. And the lowest cumulative score is awarded the Phillip Shield. So this year, it gives me pleasure to award this to Simon Couture. Can you guys please come up?
Before introducing the coach of the tennis team, I'd like to say something about him first. As Mr. McDonald mentioned, Mr. Williams is retiring at the end of this school year. So he's retiring from teaching in 10 days. I'm not completely sure how many years Mr. Williams has worked here, 28 or 29, 27. But I'll tell you one thing about him, this is a fact. For 27 years, no one has taken more ownership of their sports, tennis and squash, than Christian Williams. Nobody. Yes, lots of people love coaching and lots of people are great at it, but Mr. Williams has gone above and beyond that for almost 3 decades. Now, I can't remember all the things he's done, but here's 5 examples. In squash, he researched what a proper squash court surface should be, and he convinced the school to change it. Then he investigated the proper squash wall surface and annoyed the business office and the business manager until they fixed that also. He had the idea for the tennis wall on the side of the gym. That's his idea. He was instrumental in finding the company that redid our tennis courts 3 years ago, and he put framed photographs and speakers and cabinets in the squash court viewing area just to make it feel more homey. All of this and more, he did as a coach, not as an athletic director, just a coach who cared obsessively about his programs. So all you tennis and squash players, if you get a chance before the end of the year, say thank you to Mr. Williams for being the man who built tennis and squash into what it is today. As for me, I'll thank him in a way that he'll probably appreciate. Roses are red. Violets are blue. I've been lucky in life to have a friend like you. The Sultan of Squash, the King of the Court, Mr. Williams.
Thank you. I would have 1,000 thank yous tonight, but my greatest thank you and most heartfelt thank you by far are to the students. I really thank the students from the bottom of my heart. And I have another thank you. I also thank the International Olympic Committee for bringing tennis into the Olympics and also track. I'd like to begin with the awards part of the speech and then move on to something a little more poetic. This year, we won the Team Etiac banner, even though we did not necessarily win in each category. This is a testament to our true coming together as a team. And I'm particularly proud to give the team pins this year as a symbol of being on this amazing team. There were some upsets this season with players who both won and lost different critical matches at different times in the season, so it was exciting tennis. I want to award 5 Senior S awards, including the Shields this year, as well as the Sportsmanship Award. The Sportsmanship Award goes to Victoria Moserol, who always wanted to compete. She simply could not get enough competitive playing time. She led by example when it came to doing her best at practices, matches, tournaments, and absolutely every aspect of the season. Her positivity and sportsmanship were second to none. The next player unexpectedly played well in singles at LCC, where he was used to playing doubles up to that point. Even if he didn't always take every match, he won some tough games, and he was definitely a fighter on the courts in the best sense of the word. That would be Richard Hall. The next player won the singles finals and gold medal in her category at BCS, even after suffering from a cold. Valeria was always steadfast and smiled with optimism no matter what the outcome. The next player handled some critical near wins at LCC, and I say near wins, BCS, and the Shields with class, and which no other player, I believe, could do with such grace. It was a true test of her character, since she was a formidable player throughout the season, and Charlotte is an incredible athlete. As well as winning Senior S, Lucy won the Shields with excellence and confidence. She took the gold in her doubles category at BCS and was an understated player with precision, power, and calm focus. I expect many more achievements to come from Lucy in the future. And finally, Andrew Bouchard has been on the team many years and slowly built up to be our top Shield winner as well as a Senior S winner. It is a well-deserved award as he is a strong opponent in all regards. Andrew is an intelligent and perceptive player who builds top strategies to succeed and to play. Would you all come up, please? The next part, I would like to read a poem, which is number 32, and the final poem that I'd like to share with you. "'Twas a fine, fine day not long ago, seeing young student athletes hitting balls to and fro. When this team played as hard as they could, I sometimes watched in amazement, frozen I stood. Not for winning, not for boasting, not for being the best, but for something else special, a particular test. As our team was a mixed bag of various talent, some pressure players and some of them gallant. But that wasn't it. It was something else again. Was it the fact that they could withstand any pain? No, that wasn't it. It was not even that. And this wasn't Mudville with Casey at the bat. A certain je ne sais quoi pervaded our group. A mysterious air billowed into our troop. An invisible air, and you could not even clear it. It was ancient and powerful, a thing called team spirit. Yes, there may have been ups and there may have been downs, but our players breathed tennis from their feet to their crowns. Our players loved playing, and that is what mattered, not any records that we may have or not shattered. These players had heart, and that won the day. After all, what other reason can there be to play? Our players fought hard on the courts with all that they had, yet that doesn't mean that they didn't get mad. Mad about tennis, the ultimate sport, reserved for the passionate, for racket-type sports. Mad about competing with lobs, serves, and volleys. Yes, mad about tennis, to a point where it's folly. And though this team tried out under pressure and won a place in the roster under a bright sun, I will always remember your faces. Glowing even more bright, with huge giant smiles that could light up the night. So let us all celebrate this very last poem from a certain Coach Williams. Perhaps you may know him. Yes, I will always remember the very best times from the students here now at this moment sublime. Thank you and thank you. It's been truly great to be a small part that helped to create another fun season for which you all played a role. As I say this to you with my heart and my soul. Thanks.
Tough act to follow, but one of the few who can follow it. Speaking for Lacrosse, Monsieur Chadet.
Thank you so much, Mr. Williams, for everything you did, everything you are doing, and everything you will do. You're a true inspiration for all of us. Thank you so much. I want to thank my producers, the Academy. Oh no, it's not a good speech. Oh no, this is a good one. Bonsoir. Good evening. The 2019 lacrosse season was very successful. Why? For many reasons. Let me please recap a few of them and thank the numerous people who contributed to these successes. After a first season in our ETIAC League in 2018, with a roster of 13 players, we start the season with 24 players signing up for lacrosse. We want to thank each and every player who committed to playing this year. You are all a part of our success. Even Hugo, who had only 2 or 3 practices before getting injured. Despite this, he was often on the sideline cheering his buddies. Why such a boost in the number of players? Because we had this year the best coach in the Eastern Townships. I mean, I'm kidding. Mr. Winquist. Yeah, the best one, by far, who brought tremendous knowledge and experience to our building program. Thank you, Simon. You are amazing. Third reason, a wonderful start to the season with a clinic by Randy Batman Garrett. Remember, guys? Yeah, a lacrosse guru. We had the chance to work with for 2 days. Thank you so much, Mr. Spurk, again and again for such an opportunity. Fourth reason, what a defensive crew we had this year. Our 3 goalies. Marc-Antoine Maillot for 5.5 games. Yeah. Will McEvoy for 2 games in Ontario, plus a glorious presence when Maillot left the goal during a game for some digestion issues. Will was in the goal without any goalie equipment. That guy is a true Spartan. And plus, Marc-Antoine Ducharme for a game and a half. And our first and only shutout in Stanstead Lacrosse history. Thank you so much. And those guys deserve another big round of applause because being a lacrosse goalie is not a popular position. Good job, guys. So, in 9 games, we gave up 19 goals to the other teams. An average of 2.1 goals against per game is absolutely outstanding for lacrosse. Congratulations to our defensive lineup. You did an amazing job, all of you, but especially our fortress, Todd Norgrave, Dante Pellegrino, and Isaac Bondu. Fifth reason, our offensive, destructive dimension. 70 goals in 9 games. 7.77 goals per game. Good for the luck. 21 for Caleb Goudreau. 10 for Jeremy Tremblay. 8 for Martin Lefebvre and Sean Chisholm. 4 goals for Tyler Vosenek, Dalton Nealon, and our rookie Devon DeVries. And, of course, 2 goals for Gage Larkin, Will McEvoy, B.G. Roy, and his first epic goal by Zach Stevens. Thanks to Ian Bissonnette for your ride that day. Yes, thanks to everybody who was a part of this great season. ETIAC champion for the first time, 9 games, 8 wins, 1 loss. We met with Mr. Van Dyke, me and Mr. Winquist at some point to discuss the future of lacrosse. And as he said, there is still room for improvement, for sure. But this season was a much better one in terms of discipline, general behavior, and being true to the reputation of Stanstead College athletics. Yeah, good job. So we want to thank everybody who helped upgrade our young program in this 5th season of lacrosse at Stanstead College. And we think that it is an excellent setup for the development of such a beautiful sport. And I would like to invite Mr. Winquist to now announce our award winners.
Thank you, Mr. Charret. It was a pleasure working with you this year. For our lacrosse awards, we have 1 sportsmanship award and 2 senior S's. For our sportsmanship award, this is going to a player who has improved his game both on and off the field. On the field this time last year, he lacked a bit of speed, conditioning, and lacrosse experience to have a big impact on a game. This year, he could win face-offs, score a goal, or play any position we asked of him. Even more important was his improvement in sportsmanship. I couldn't believe the stories Mr. Charret would tell me about him from last year. Instead, what I saw this year was a player who wanted to get better, never complained about rainy practices, and was fearless. This is a guy we expect big things from next year. Your sportsmanship award goes to BJ Roy. So the 2 senior S. The first S goes to a player who made everyone's job easier, including mine. There is definitely no one on our team who ran as much as him. This player can defend, pick up a loose ball, transition the ball, and even score a couple goals. We are very lucky to have him coming back another year, and we expect even better things next year, as this kid always wants to get better. James George, you are one of the award winners. The second S goes to a player who I was very excited to see play lacrosse. After what I saw during the varsity hockey games, I was pretty sure he was going to be a good one. And boy, he did not disappoint. Silky hands, an accurate shot, and built like a tree. This player can score goals, even if that means going through an opponent and sending him back 10 feet. Even better, he has a great attitude and works hard every practice. Sean Chisholm, you have an S award. And now for the major S. Our first major S goes to a player that makes fans jump out of their seats. Speed like a gazelle, spins like a ballet, and a shot you would be crazy to step in front of. Oh, and apparently he's a hell of a baseball player too. What I love about this player is that he's always willing to arrive first and be the last one to leave practice in order to take those extra shots. There is a reason he's our best player. He works at it. This is a player who has been here since day one, and that we are very sad that he is leaving the lacrosse program here at Stanstead. I am glad he will be pursuing his lacrosse career because the future is bright. Caleb, come get your major S. The second major award goes to another guy who has been here since the beginning. What I would call a pioneer of the lacrosse program here at Stanstead. This player is someone who is a pleasure to coach, and it always takes constructive criticism the right way. It's easy with this guy. He listens because he wants to get better. On the field, he does everything we ask of him and more, whether that's scoring, passing, or running back on defense. This is a player who impressed me more and more as the year went along with his play and the way he carried himself as a leader. I wish him the best in his future lacrosse endeavors at McGill. Martin, come get your S award. Major S. Lastly, possession of the ball in lacrosse is the most important part of the game. Having the ball means the other team can't score. Simple as that. And this player made sure we had the ball almost every time. Whether it was beating his opponent with his quick hands, his strength, or his will, he made sure that ball was ours. A passionate player who always asks how he can get better will now take his face-off talents to my alma mater, Bishop's University. I wish him all the best, and it was a pleasure to have coached him. Your final Major S goes to Tyler Vosnick. Thank you.
Senior girls rugby, Miss Hession.
Good evening. There were 13 out of 23 players on this team this year who were brand new to rugby. I've entitled this speech 26 Pieces of Advice for Rugby as a Metaphor for Life, also known as the ABCs. Bear with me to get them all in this time. If I say words funny, if I speak too fast, and if I make mistakes, then you'll have an idea of what my team puts up with every day. A is for Allez les Rouges. For Alta, thank you Alta. And for Always Ready, like Aaron Hinch. B is for the braids, carefully applied on the bus. Also for the buzzer, and for Boom Chicka Boom. But it's not for the best, it's for better. C is for crutches. It's for the coupe that we brought home to the maison. And it's for Kavanaugh's. D is for drop kicks, for drop balls, and for the differences that brought you together. E is for the effort that you put in on good and bad days. It's for everyone, and it's for evasion, because rugby is an evasion game. And it's for Emily Norris, who is amazing. F is for the foundation built by you. G is for go forward. H is for the heart, for helping and for your hands, for the tap on the shoulder when you said, come on, let's go. I is for the IOC. Thank you for bringing rugby into the Olympics. It's also for ice bombs, that the weather we endured at the beginning, scratch that, all throughout the season. It's for the indoor practices. J is for the jumpers who put their life in your hands. And it's for Jean, our bus driver. Thank you, Jean. And it's also for the junior girls who came up to play with us and had some of their very first tackles. L is for the links in the chain, all 23. It's also for laundry, who laundered your white shorts. Thank you, laundry. M is for my bad in the 8-cone warm-up, and it's for the mountain that you climbed together. N is for never giving in, even on a breakaway. O is for the opening kickoff, and that 3-second pause as you wait for the ball to land and the adrenaline to kick in. P is for penalties. We had a few. Q is for quickness. We had some too. R is for the rucks, for Rugby Fest, for Ready, Ready, Up, for reaching out to help a teammate up. S is for stitches, for scrums, and for sunburns that one day. It's for steals, and it's for the stars. T is for tackles, also tries, also tackles, also tag games, and also tackles. U is for the up-downs. V is for victory, and for Mr. Van Dyke, thank you, Mr. Van Dyke. W is for water, also for walking tacos. X marks the spot. Y is for the yellow suit, which didn't do us much luck. And Z is for zigzag through the hedges. The bottom line is this. You started out here, and whatever shape it takes now is up to you. Thank you. For the first awards, I'd like to award senior S's. The first two will go out to two extremely talented players, both new to the game, both led with their feet and with their shoulders, and two absolutely incredible try scorers, Tamara Tiras and Fred Node. Next award goes to a player who did all the dirty work. She committed to the rucks, she went for the steal, she followed the play, and she became a kickoff specialist, and that is Erin Hinch. Next award I'll call the Ready, Ready, Up. It's for the stabilizer in the backfield, who stepped into first receiver when needed, who made holes for others to shine through and improved her tackling tenfold, Isabel Richard. And the Sportsmanship Award goes to a player who's been with the team for some time. Certainly she has a team-first attitude. Everything is always yes, ma'am. Whatever you need, whatever the team needs, whatever is best for the team. And she's often the first one to extend a hand to the other team, and she will certainly be missed, and that is Allison Barlow. Please come up and get your awards. The first Major S award goes to a 3-year veteran of this team who was essential to every single aspect of team play. The scrum, the lineout, and all penalty plays ran directly through her. This year, her vision of the field and ability to put other people in the right place at the right time made our team literally unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and join me in honoring Emily Willis with a Major S. When you played against Stanstead this year, right from the kickoff, you knew that you were in for a game. Leading from the front, she took the drop kicks, also the place kicks, and anchored the back line, spread the field, distributed the ball, learned a brand new position, and this year perfected the rip and roll so that even when the other team had the ball, we had the ball. And this year she learned also to tackle. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and join me in honoring for a Major S and the Roger Marino Trophy for Excellence in Sportsmanship in Rugby, Mackenzie St. Pierre.
Our final program of the night, Senior Boys Rugby, Mr. Spurk.
All right, just start with a quick few thank yous. First to Mr. Van Dyke and Mrs. Wolf. It's tough managing with all the rain, and they did a great job. Thank you to Miss Norris and to Miss Hessian. They are phenomenal people to travel with. We spend a lot of time together, and they're great rugby minds, and they're fun to bounce ideas off. And finally, a friend of ours is leaving on Monday. He's been a great addition. He helped me in volleyball. He's helped me in this season in rugby. He's a young guy. He's younger than some guys on the team, but he's extremely responsible, extremely dedicated. He has a huge heart, and we'll miss him. Matthew Lunt. Now, normally I stand up here and I list off who we played, whether we won or lost, and how that made me feel. Pretty boring. In the spirit of focusing less on winning and more on the important things in sports, I've decided to change things up. This year, we won more games than we lost. Great. We won 2 tournaments. Yay. And we won the league banner and playoff trophy. Fun. We did all that winning and more last year. Lovely. So why is this year special to me? It's because of how it happened. We won because Patrick, Joe, and Pato were incredible leaders and set the tone early. I couldn't have asked for 3 better people to get the ball rolling for this young group. We won because Phil, Q, Greg Lapointe, Richard, and Nurkin were brave enough to leave the comfort of sports they knew to test themselves at a sport that was foreign. It was an honor to coach all of them for a season, and I just wish they would have played last year. We won because Cole, Ryan, Ho, and Jaden came in ready to challenge grade 12s for starting positions and put in the work necessary to do so. They're young, but not afraid to take space, and I love that about them. We won because Antonio, Gregoire, and Yoshi tried something totally new and were amazing in their first year at the college. We won because Mathieu, Hadley, Mario, and Tatsu were twice the players they were last year. They bought in and worked hard to improve, and I'm so proud of the players they've become. Now, those are the reasons they won games, but here are some of the reasons they won as people. They won as a group because the boys created an environment that was accepting, kind, fair, and fun. No matter what shape or size you were, your skill level, or your experience in the sport, you had a place on this team. The younger players bugged the older players as little brothers do, and the older players focused more on keeping the train on the tracks. The players with less experience often were pulled aside by Joe, Patrick, or Pato to be given advice on how to do it a different way. It was never mean, it was always helpful. When they carried King Tatsu off the field in the finals, they showed their true character. It was about more than winning a game. They won as people because they never gave up on each other in a match. They were down early in more games this year than ever, and they stuck together. They battled through, and they almost always came out on top. That ability to problem solve and stick together goes way beyond sport. But the boys won the game of life for how they treated our coach, Diego Pacheco. Little did they know, he was experiencing some of his worst moments in life. His family was breaking up, he was struggling with a back injury, and was going through a troublesome depression. The way the kids performed, listened, and laughed gave him a lot of energy. When he came over the week in May, he lived some of his most gratifying moments. This was due to the kindness and respect the boys showed him as a coach and as a friend. His words upon returning home were, "Stanstead College gave me the strength to go home and be the old me and improve my life. It was simply incredible. You will all stay in my heart forever." We definitely set goals of being perfect and going undefeated, but in trying hard to achieve that goal, we were able to arrive at a place where winning was something but wasn't everything. This year I learned a lot from the boys. I learned that Nurkin will never be my doctor, but can always play on my team. That Jaden has the most awkward game preparation ritual and even more awkward respect for his body in contact. That Cole can't be fazed by any pain, even a dislocated finger. That Ryan was born in a jungle and plays with no fear or regard for his body. That Greg is tougher than I thought, playing all year with a broken finger. That Hadley has Garfield DNA, but when fully present, was an absolute terror on the field. That Tatsu could bring a team together with passion for rugby and comes from royalty. That Patrick is an amazing leader and should coach one day. That Joe, under that tough exterior on the field, knows how to write the nicest thank you letters of anyone I've ever met. That Antonio is part caveman and one of the kindest people on earth. That Q has incredible hands in lineouts. That Richard is way tougher than I gave him credit for and was a real threat by the end of the season. That Mario has an amazing low center of gravity in rucks and goes 100% in every situation. That Mathieu loves taking care of animals, loves his teammates, and loves a good joke. Holy will play wherever I tell him to, and with a smile, he does what's best for the group. I learned that Pato could still care as much as he did before a season-ending injury. The team always came first. That Yoshi liked his experience when I was scared he wasn't having fun. That Gregoire will play anywhere and do whatever it takes for the team. That Phil wasn't just a musician, he was a heck of a rugby player too. I learned a lot from these guys, but most of all, they taught me that creating family, inclusiveness, and helping others feels a whole lot better than winning, and it's more memorable too. Thank you. The first senior S. The first senior S goes to a young man with crazy athletic ability. He loves to be in the heart of the action and will be an incredible asset next season, Cole Huckins. The second senior S goes to a young man who looks small but plays huge. He's our restart kicker, makes try-saving tackles game after game, and will dominate next season, Ryan Young. The third senior S goes to a player who wasn't too sure about the sport after a late start. He turned into a phenomenal offensive and defensive player and became an essential part of our lineouts and scrums. The third senior S goes to Phil Martell. The fourth senior S goes to a player who wasn't too sure about the sport. That's my mistake. The fourth senior S goes to a young man who figured out the game mid-season and never looked back. He became an excellent kicker, hit the attack line with so much speed, scoring many tries. It's really just too bad he picked up the game so late in his career. The final senior S goes to Greg Lapointe. The Sportsmanship Award is co-awarded this year between two young men who show their love of team and sport in different ways. Mathieu is your happy-go-lucky kid who does whatever it takes for the team. He picks up at the end of training sessions and genuinely wishes the best for every player on the field. Pato suffered a devastating injury mid-season, which took away his chance at finishing his 4-year senior rugby career in style. He didn't pout or drift away. He was right there every day to encourage his team and lead from the sidelines. The Sportsmanship Award is co-awarded to Patricio Tamayo and Matt Duval Soto. Come up and get yours. All right, on to the Major S awards. The first Major S is awarded to a player with a tremendous amount of heart and dedication. He loves his teammates and works hard to make sure there is always a team-first attitude. He's not the flashiest player, but he's dominant in rucks, a strong runner, and a great tackler. He's a true leader and will be extremely missed next year. Joseph Poulain. The second Major S goes to our captain. He's a young man who loves the game and will play in university. He's the scariest person to run into contact with, and he creates more turnovers than anyone I've ever coached in my life. He's a great leader, and we will miss him next season. This Major S goes to Patrick Young. And now I asked my players to vote on the MVP, and there were some very insightful responses. So the third Major S goes to one of the youngest players on the team, but easily the most resilient. One of his teammates said the following: "Jaden is simply amazing. He's an all-around athlete that has a bright future in whatever he decides to do. Jaden showed up to every single game ready to go and ready to sacrifice his body for his family. Game after game, I watched him get destroyed by tackles, but he never stayed on the ground. He's always stood back up, took a deep breath, and made another great pass. He has been incredible from the first play of the year to the last. He's a quiet leader and also someone very humble. He's led us to many great victories, and without him, this year would have been completely different. I could not agree more, and I hope he never gives up on the sport." The last Major S and MVP award goes to Jaden Mullins.
Thank you, Mr. Spurk. This concludes the assembly and officially marks the end of the 2018-2019 Stanstead College year in athletics. It's been a busy year and a good one. I personally would like to thank all those coaches and athletes who went above and beyond this year. Despite ridiculously busy schedules, your commitment to Spartans athletics has helped maintain and even build upon the incredible reputation we have. A reputation of competitiveness, sportsmanship, inclusiveness, and class. You guys make me proud to work here. All interscholastic coaches and award winners, please stay behind for your photos. That includes all S's, MVPs, Shields, and sportsmanship awards. Everyone else, when you return to campus, second half of study is on. It's exam time. It's time to work. Thank you all for your fine comportment. Have a great end of year. Thank you, sports enthusiasts.